I'm photographer Nalinee Darmrong, and you're watching The Artists Forum.
Hi, and welcome to the Artists Forum. I'm your guest host tonight, Bill Coleman, and I'm here with photographer Nalinee Darmrong, who has blessed us with a 224-page love letter to one of the best bands in the world, the Smiths. Welcome.
Hi, Bill. How are you today?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
This is an exciting project that has just been released over the last couple months with Rizzoli.
Yes.
It is a wonderful book of your time on the road with the Smiths.
Yep.
In 1985 and 1986,
yep,
during their tours for
Meat is Murder and The Queen is Dead, the pinnacle of their career. So I was very fortunate to be a fly on the wall during that whole time, and now other people can see what I experienced. So
nice. And you were just about 17, 18 at the time?
Yes, I was 17. Mm-hmm. I was just graduating high school, and my good friend Tony got me my first ticket to a Smith show as a graduation present. Mm-hmm. And then after I saw the live show, I was hooked. Another friend got me a ticket to Philadelphia. And then after the DC show, actually, we met Morrissey and Johnny Marr the next morning. We stayed outside their hotel, like a bunch of 10 of us, playing Duck, Duck, Goose, getting to know each other as well, and sharing Smith stories and songs and etc. And then we met them the next morning, and Johnny Marr put all of us on the guest list for New York for the 2 Beacon Theater shows. So it just seems that I was destined to kind of follow them, because my first 4 shows were given to me, basically.
Were you, I'm just curious, at that time, you're a teenager going to shows in the DC area, were you and your friends often kind of waiting for bands out, or was this kind of a rare occurrence where you were?
Not at all. I mean, I was torn between the DC punk rock scene, you know, which is very involved, no waiting, and very casual. But I was into British music as well, you know, Echo and the Bunnymen, The Cure, you know. So yeah, there wasn't that fervor. I guess I didn't have that fervor that other people had for those bands. And I guess, I don't know, and until the Smiths came along, I didn't feel that anything was as unique as the music was and the live show was, even though the live show did remind me of DC punk rock, hardcore shows, the energy. Nice. The involvement between crowd and artist. It was very similar, and it's interesting now that the Smiths are being compared to a punk rock band now, and I don't think it's that inappropriate at all, knowing what I know about the DC punk rock scene.
So you went on the road with them.
I did.
And this was all on your own dime. And
I paid off my credit card for 3 years after. So basically, I saw the first. So they had been to the U.S. Previously, I think in 1983, very small promo tour. And so I met them the next time they came, 1985, and they were all really big in the UK. But I saw the tail end of that Meat is Murder tour, and then I went for my first semester of college, dropped out, and it was the best decision I ever made. I went back to school and really enjoyed it, so the timing was good. And then I went to Scotland. They did a small Meat is Murder tour in Scotland. I think that was, I'm not sure, 8 or 9 dates. And then it was a break, and I went to Canada for a little bit, and then most of the whole U.S. Queen is Dead tour, which was the last U.S. tour and the second to last tour ever, because subsequently the next UK tour was their last tour.
Right. So after the Meat is Murder tour, you were considered family. So by the time they,
I mean, I guess.
well, by the time they did the Queen is Dead tour, you were there and had access, which speaks to why there's so many amazing pictures here in this book.
Thank you so much.
Rare photos, things that have not been published before, that have basically been sitting in your archives for 30 years.
Yeah,
and over the course of this period of time, the Smiths have become so revered and iconic. So for this book to come out on the anniversary of the release of The Queen is Dead this year, actually, it's pretty amazing for fans to all of a sudden have kind of almost like be a bit of a fly on the wall during this tour. It's pretty unprecedented, and for a band like this, these are images that no one has really seen before.
Yeah, I have to thank Rizzoli, because I have to thank my senior editor Jessica Fuller and my editor Roger Gassman, because they saw that vision of this different type of Smiths book. I mean, there are many books about the Smiths, but not so many from. Johnny Marr calls me a fan friend, and I can understand that, because it's like, because I had seen so many shows, I had become so familiar with them, but I still adore them.
Yeah, of course.
But on tour, you see them eating, or you see them, taking a little break, or taking a nap. So I mean, it's just like hanging out with family or friends after a while.
It's also, there's obviously a comfort level with them, which comes across in the imagery. You see them smiling, hanging out. It's very casual.
They know. I guess I'm familiar with boundaries. I don't know, because that probably is a problem.
Well, these days I would imagine it would be, but
yeah, but it probably was a problem then, as well, even that early, because there was such a difference between Meat is Murder and Queen is Dead. In
terms of
the fandom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really nuts.
It just kind of amped up by the time Queen is Dead.
Because How Soon Is Now was post How Soon Is Now. Yeah. There are iconic song. Basically everyone in the world, if you did not hear of the Smiths, you knew that song, because you go to 80s dance parties now. I mean, everybody knows that song.
It's a classic. It's a total classic.
And then for guitar buffs, because I play guitar and other instruments, when you read about how Soon As Now was recorded, because back then there was no Pro Tools recording equipment.
It was like tape loops and
there were no, I mean, there was nothing like that. Johnny Marr recorded the How Soon As Now song, because it's amazing. So, and he's the one that inspired me to start guitar, of course. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So as a young teenager, you had traveled previously internationally, so traveling wasn't with your parents, so it wasn't a foreign concept for you to kind of be
No, I love traveling.
But I'm just curious, how did your parents feel about you being like, hey, I'm going to go on the road with these guys? And have the Smiths ever actually met your parents? I was curious about that.
No, it's interesting though. No, they've never met them, but I've recently been in touch with Johnny Marr the last 2 to 3 years since he's gone Johnny Marr solo, not Johnny Marr and the Healers, not with the Cribs or
and his solo albums are amazing, by the way.
So amazing.
Really good.
So amazing. And he said to me, I think this last time, he says to me, but I know he's so busy, but he's like, well, maybe, we can go up and meet your mom, and because my dad passed away in '98. Meet your mom and your son and stuff. So, but he was so busy, so I brought my son down to see him, to meet him at the 930 Club in Washington, D.C. And Ian MacKaye, head of Discord Records, founder of Fugazi,
Which is legendary in that scene.
Yes, well, and worldwide, I think. I remember seeing some Fugazi shirts in Scotland in record shops. But apparently, Johnny's son is a huge Fugazi fan. Okay. So I think Ian had brought him some great DC Discord stuff to listen to. So awesome. I don't know. It's I even after all these years, I don't feel that they have changed or I have changed in our relationship to each other.
Well, you, as a result of releasing the book, you've reconnected with many of the members of the band.
Yes.
So I'm curious as to your conversations now, so many years later.
Yeah.
They have fond memories of this time. What is their recollection when they look back and kind of, they're basically kind of stumbling down memory lane, and they have not previously seen these photos before. So what's it been like for them to talk to you as someone who they knew back then and as now kind of, basically redocumenting their lives?
Well, I know it's interesting because just now I can't really answer your question because I think they've just started looking through it now.
Okay.
I mean, I know Andy has seen it and he likes it, you know, and he thanked me for bringing back the memories. I guess they were the good memories, because I'm sure. I think after time, it's all about that, There's good and bad memories,
of course. But they are a band that broke up, so there are reasons behind that, of course.
I don't know about Mike, but if Mike ever is watching, I hope you like it. I don't know about Morris. I know Johnny likes it, and a friend of mine showed me a picture of him and Johnny looking through my book, and I'm just, it's amazing. But I don't know about Morrissey. Okay. So if Morrissey is watching this as well, if you have seen my book,
go get it.
Thank you, and I have been advised that I'm going to try and get you a signed copy if that would be nice.
I'm sure that he would love it.
So
and this is a book that almost didn't happen. And from all accounts, you were working actually on another project, my understanding, and that your editor's assistants, you showed them some like a folder of images, and they were the ones who kind of helped shepherd this along.
Right, yeah. So I was working on them, contributing photos, because I used to work at the old 930 Club in Washington, D.C., and the old location was 930 F Street.
Legendary live establishment in D.C., amazing bands.
If you've never been there, whenever you go to D.C., please check it out. It's an amazing, amazing club. And so I used to work there, and they are celebrating their 35th anniversary this year. And so my friend Brian Liu asked, put me in contact with Roger Gassman, who is the editor of that book, and his assistants, to come over to my home to just kind of check out if I had anything useful for them. Because it was different, because in DC, like, everybody has all the flyers, all the ephemera ticket stubs, all that. But I was grateful, like, they used a couple of things, so that's cool that I could contribute. But while they were looking through my things, I had this small blue binder of Smith's negatives and ephemera, and I remember, like, seeing, I was like, okay. And so I, like, walked up to my Roger's assistants, Trina and Jeanette, and I said, hey, do you guys like the Smiths? Check it out, because my husband's, bless him, he's not really that big of a Smiths fan, I'm sorry. But I showed them, and they were looking through it, and then their eyes kind of got wider and wider, and they're like, oh, maybe we'll, ask Roger if he would be interested. And to make a long story short,
here's the book.
So,
and it's got amazing photos. It also has pictures of different ticket stubs and memorabilia. For anyone who was wondering what it was like to be on the road with the Smiths, particularly during, this was arguably like their pinnacle time.
It
of
really
being,
was. It was.
This is an amazing tome book.
Thank you so much.
Love letter. I say that affectionately for that time and completely for fans. And you have some really great liner notes, some that you've done yourself. Also, Andy Bell of Ride did some liner notes, and Mark Spitz.
And Oasis. He's 10 years as Oasis.
And Mark Spitz, legendary music journalist, who's also contributed. Are they friends of yours, or were they recommended to you to contribute?
So Mark Spitz is a really good friend of Jessica Fuller, the senior editor of Rizzoli. So, and Andy, I have known from the Ride days, and it was recommended to me by his manager Dave Newton that, and Steve Carell, the bassist, that Andy was a huge Smiths fan, and I had no idea. And so I got up the gumption to kind of ask him through Steve, and Steve was like, "I'll ask him, if he wants to contribute a blurb." They were playing shows at the time who they haven't reformed. I mean, kind of, but they've been touring a lot recently.
They were just here like last year, I think, or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Steve asked Andy for me, and then we all corroborated together, and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Okay, thank you."
The liner notes are great because they give very kind of specific perspectives on the Smiths.
And they're very different.
They're very different. So they're really great to read, and then you see all these beautiful photographs. So it's like your perspective is sort of like the fly on the wall, you're kind of in the mix, and then Andy's liner notes are total kind of guitar geeked out, like favorite riffs and things of that nature.
I think he said, I don't remember which record cover, maybe it was Queen is Dead, Meat is Murder, but maybe the Meat is Murder, he like cut it out of a t-shirt and like put it on his jean jacket. Yeah.
And then Mark
So
Spitz
classic.
comes from a complete like, I know everything about the Smiths that you could possibly ever imagine.
But it's all, but I feel that all of them, every perspective is like, we love you guys,
Totally.
From so many perspectives, and it's great.
It's amazing. From a complete geek level, what camera did you use?
Okay.
And why? Was there any particular reason? Because you weren't kind of a photographer.
I was 17, so I wasn't a pro photographer. I had taken a few classes in high school. I was familiar, with shooting manually in 35 millimeter style. My father was actually really into photography, and so I shot with a Minolta X300. Just a basic 35 millimeter camera. My dad got it for me, and my film of preference was Ilford film. I think it was C41, or no, that was the processing, where you could process it in black and white or like kind of blue tones or sepia tones. So it was very versatile, and so I used that a lot. And it's interesting because recently I've been learning digital for like the last 4 or 5 years, and it was hard to make the switch, but I still shoot in manual. I can't do auto ever. So
was the process of transferring the film from film to to be able to kind of manufacture a book, was that an arduous process, or was it okay? Did it seem?
I mean, it was a process. Okay. It took a while.
Yeah, books are not easy.
It took a while. Negatives are not easy, So yeah, it was definitely a discussion of how much grain to keep. Okay. Because the more you edit, the less vibe you get, I feel, especially for photographs from this period. It's like it's like we were talking earlier about people buying music and then getting apps to like go back to getting pops and scratches. Yeah. And
the vintage filter.
And that's why I really appreciate Rizzoli and my husband, who helped with the initial editing, and Roger Gassman's crew, who just use their knowledge to
maintain the essence.
Yeah, to maintain that sense of I don't know, 80s, late 80s
authenticity.
excitement. Yeah,
it feels
excitement.
authentic.
Yeah.
It feels
It doesn't-
organic.
Right,
It doesn't feel
exactly.
forced. It feels very like you're dropped in.
Right.
Right,
Like
right
a time
in.
capsule.
Total time
Yeah.
capsule. Are there any photos that you love that did not make the book?
I mean, it's hard.
Are there a lot more photos than this?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I think I sent them 350 photos.
And how many photos? I know it's 224 pages, but how many photos made the book? Roughly?
200. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot. I mean,
It's a lot.
Yeah, actually, with the ephemera, I gave them a ton of ephemera, but it was like, it ran the gamut of like postcards of cities.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't know what dynamic they were going for, whether they wanted to be like a
like a travelogue
yeah,
sort
a
of thing.
travelogue kind of Bill Bryson kind of thing, or if they wanted it like this, which was compared to the other two Rizzoli books. The first one, I don't know if people know this, but first one's Joy Division. The second one's
okay.
New Order. So this is the third in the Manchester music series.
Nice.
It's just the timing was perfect, and I think when I came along, to Jessica, it was. I mean, it was just
Meant to be.
kismet,
It's
great.
definitely meant to be. How many? Because I was reading your liner notes, and it said that you went to about 17 shows for
Oh no, I went to about 35 shows.
Okay. total.
Yeah,
Okay.
I went to 35 shows. If you go to, I'm sorry that I forget the actual website, but you can go to a Smith's Gigography, and there's every show that they ever played, and I went down the
You can
list.
do it like a trail map.
Yeah, and so I figured out it was exactly 35 shows.
Okay.
So,
In your liner notes, you say
Passions Like Mine, that's what it's called.
passions like mine.
The website, very good site for
Like
reference.
mine or mind?
Mine.
Mine. Okay. You say that this was the most memorable, most incredible musical and personal experience of your life. One of them.
Yeah, for sure. Because my age. I mean, it was 17, rite of passage, first drinks. In the UK.
Any crazy
Sorry, Mom.
stories?
Anything.
Any crazy we almost ran off a cliff in the bus, or any crazy stories like that?
It's so interesting because this story has been creeping up a lot with my friends. Is that when we traveled from Inverness, Scotland, you had to take a ferry to cross over to the Shetlands through 3 bodies of water, right? And somebody just posted a video of what that is like, and there's tables being, smashed over and cups and glasses falling off, and everybody was drinking and getting sick. And so when we got to the Shetlands, everybody was excited just to be there and on stable ground.
Wow.
And so everybody really, that show was very special. It was very small and special.
Nice.
It was very wonderful.
So what would you say for someone who is, today, technology has made it so much easier, everyone's a photographer or can be a photographer in the selfie generation. Say, there's this cool new band that you like, and they see this book and they're totally inspired. What advice would you give someone today, someone who's young and really wants to follow their passion, or feels that, they just kind of want to, be with these musicians and kind of document them? And do you have advice for someone like that?
Yes, I do. So if you're just starting out and you really like live music and you want to start taking photos, get a really good point-and-shoot camera, because most venues will not let you bring a pro camera, which is a camera that you can detach the lens. That's usually the rule. And that's how you get your portfolio together. You use a point-and-shoot. It's totally fine to bring into shows. These days they make amazing small point and shoot cameras with great apertures that are really good for low light, no flash. And I also recommend taking a couple film classes. Learn how to develop as well and bring both. And that's how I would get my start if I was just starting out right now. And get your portfolio, get your name out there, talk to people, talk to pro photographers who are at shows, get advice from them, go to photographic, Photo Week DC is one thing, New York, all that, just save up, pay that money, $70 to get a mentor to advise you. And good luck for all the potential photographers out there.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite Smiths song? I'm sure people ask you this all the time.
So much pressure.
That is
so much pressure.
Give me two.
I'll give you three.
Give me three.
Okay. London.
Yes.
Is one of my favorites because it's so quintessentially Johnny and it's so different from, I think, all the other songs. Okay, that's one. It's really hard, Bill. You're really putting me on the spot right. Two, Take Me Back to the Old House. Take Me Back to the Old House, Hatful of Hollow version. Is gorgeous. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. This Night Has Opened My Eyes is really beautiful. Girl Afraid.
Okay,
Girl Afraid. That was the first Smith song I ever heard.
And you've been.
And I was floored.
And some could say you were Girl Unafraid because you basically
I was afraid.
went.
No, I was afraid.
Okay.
And then, and they relaxed me, and amazing people. If you ever get to meet Morrissey, Johnny, Mike, or Andy, it's a blessing, and you'll treasure it for the rest of your days. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
for
Bill.
Joining us today.
And thank
this is
you,
an
Artist
awesome
Forum.
book for anybody who is a Smiths fan and wants to know what it was like to be on the road with them for these two tours. My favorite Smiths song is There Is a Light That Never Goes Out.
Gorgeous.
Just FYI.
And the videos with Derek Jarman.
So good. Bill Coleman for the Artist Forum, the Smiths.
Nalinee Darmrong.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.